I'm thrilled today to be joined here on CCM Magazine by a legendary actor, incredible actor, Kevin McNally, who you know from the Pirates films and so many other things we're going to get into. But of course, today we are talking about the reasons my kids certainly would love to talk to you, and that is because of the Wingfeather Saga Season 3 that starts today. It has become a phenomenon, Kevin, specifically within, my household, and I've seen it. My kids brought me this show. It wasn't something I sat them down and said, you need to watch this. They started talking about it at school. It's become a big thing. And when your character, I'm sitting along watching the first seasons with my kids, and your character is one certainly that as the adult in the room, maybe I'm connecting with a bit more as this gritty and rugged, battle-worn grandfather figure in Podo. So what drew you to this role, knowing what your kind of historical past, everything you've worked on, and we're going to get into some of that, but I just want to know what brought you to the Wingfeather Saga.
Well, exactly what you just said. I played a pirate before, but I'm playing a pirate now, but who's also a wonderful grandfather and a great family member. And I just loved the mix of that. I thought it was terrific.
Mentioned that to my kids. I was like, I was going through all the list of people, and I was like, I'm going to interview Kevin. Then, of course, I'm like, I know him as Mr. Gibbs from Pirates of the Caribbean. And they're like, well, that makes sense. He's a pirate in this as well. He's a pirate. So it feels like, if we're looking for a pirate, you're a good person to go to. But this story has those echoes of a Tolkien or a Lewis, where there's these faith elements, these stories, but they're told in a way that's creative and fantastical. Do you see that sort of in this story, the sort of fantasy storytelling, but with a much deeper message?
Yes, absolutely. I was attracted to that combination of things from the moment that I read it. And I'm only happy that after doing the first series, which, they sort of created themselves, that it has caught on. And I'm actually in the middle of recording season 4 now. So this could go on and on. It really could.
Yeah, we all love to see it. And again, it's been refreshing to know when we all sit down as a family. My kids got to go to the premiere last week that they held here in the Caverns here in Tennessee.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
It looked amazing. And they sent me a screener. I was able to watch it. But it is this, like I said, this story. And this season, I know when I was talking to our friends that, talking about the PR and this, and what they want to talk about. One of them is that the sort of theme of this season is that faith and courage run deeper than fear. And we live in kind of a crazy time right now where fear is kind of thrown around a lot. So that story, especially when we're talking to little ones, I think is very important.
Yeah, very much so. I think family is the most important part of it. Protection. What I love about season 3 and season 4 is that we learn a lot more about Podo's past, and he wasn't always the lovely man that he is now. So I love that element to it. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a true story for pretty much everybody. Everyone has different versions of, and certainly, your parents and your grandparents at some point, you realize they're not perfect people and had a life before you. And that's just, That's just the truth. You're also a dad. As I said, I'm sitting down watching this with my kids. Does that go into when you're making a decision now of what you're deciding to do with your career, is having these projects that can be not just for families, but can be multi-generational? Obviously now people know you from the Pirates films and all of that. Those have lasted. I remember sitting in the theater when the first Pirates came out, and I said, this could be this generation Star Wars, that all these characters are so well done. No one feels like a bit part. Every character has a full arc. And it was, and they would progressively get darker, kind of like the Wingfeather's doing right now, which is aging up a little with your audience. That's been a fun journey even for me to go from my kids watching this starting at 6 and 7 years old, and now they're 10, 12, 13, and the series is still connecting.
Yeah, well, that's wonderful. And I do love a series of any kind that grows and builds and, makes a difference. And I certainly love being part of anything that introduces children to good storytelling.
And I feel like at this point in your career, there has to be some drive that is one of the focuses, is you have to still have that love and passion for storytelling, I would assume.
Oh, completely. Yeah. And in fact, at the moment, I'm moving a little bit into directing because of that love of storytelling. And I think with my years of experience, I can tell a good story. so Wingfeather has been a wonderful part of that.
What about that move into, you talk about directing, and now you've had to direct, or you've been directed now, front of the camera, on the high seas, if you will, and then now even in a studio, maybe even in your home, however it may be, when you're doing these voice acting gigs. What is the difference that, like, as an actor even, and a performer, to have clearly a very different, distinct version of acting when it comes to voice acting?
Well, I mean, you know, if you're on the stage, you're completely in control of everything. If you're on film, the editor has a lot to do with what he chooses from what you do and what you choose to do depending on the size of the shot. But in voice acting, it's very much you and the animators. You know, we create together a character. They do it visually and I do it vocally. There's
an interesting thing that's happened, I feel like, in recent years, in terms of, I was looking through your IMDb and all your credits, is because of the internet and streaming, the world has opened up a bit more to content that's being released all over the world, where a lot of your content, a lot of it was maybe honed in on Britain. You couldn't necessarily, you could access it, but it wasn't necessarily available. It wasn't on our mainstream television networks. Now that's changing. Are there roles or anything that people may love you from Pirates? They may love you from this and go, but now we can go find your, you know, long catalog here of amazing projects, or any that like stick out that you would love our American audience to go find?
Well, I mean, they already have, really. I've done things Supernatural,
of course,
that I realized was so popular when I did it. Going back to old shows like O Claudius in England, I've pretty much covered all the ground, but I am glad I do get comments from people about things they've found that I'm in from the past. And I'm very thrilled by that. But I'm particularly thrilled when I go to Comic-Cons and people come up to me and say how much, particularly Pirates of the Caribbean was part of their childhood. And I feel very honored by that. And I love having those conversations with people.
That's good to hear, because you never know in those situations. And it's nice to know if someone approaches you, does talk to you about that is something that you care about, or that you have respect for. Because I know there can be that opposite reaction as well of like, well, I mean, guys, that was 4 movies of a huge career that I've had here. But that's awesome to hear that because they were they were monsters in terms of the way people watch them. Like I said, when I watched it, I said, this is it, man.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And of course, as a sort of successful character actor in England, Pirates of the Caribbean was a huge change for me, because it took me sort of worldwide, and for that I'm very grateful, and for meeting that, you know, I'm much more interested in viewers than reviewers. So it's lovely to meet people who can actually say to you, this is what this show meant to me. Yeah.
And we all have those different movies and shows that have connected with us. I'm glad my kids are connecting with Wingfeather. But I was looking back on your career and everything that's happened. And I'm sure if I talked to my wife, she'd be like, well, we got to talk Downton. And I'm sure we could do that. But I saw Spice World. Okay, Spice World. Oh, right, one of my all-time. I remember sitting in the theater and being blown away by this movie 30 years ago almost now. I mean, we're talking about Spice. You know, Girl Power took over 1996. So what? We're almost at 30 years of Spice Girls. I know this is not where you expected this interview to go, but I have to say that is a movie that oddly we all quote around this office, maybe a little too much still.
Spice World, yeah. No, that was fantastic. And it was particularly fantastic for my daughter, who was 9, I think, when I made the film. And she was made an honorary Spice Girl, Cheeky Spice.
Oh, that's great.
I didn't see her. She just hung out with the Spice Girls the whole time. But they were adorable to work with. And it was a wonderful, the very late director who I'd worked with a lot has asked me to do it. And I absolutely adored it. And there is a generation of people who come up with that film.
Yeah, they come up and say, you know, you're frightening the pigeons. It happens. You got to quit that. Well,
frightening the pigeons.
I did want to give, though, the opportunity for our audience who maybe is brand new also to Wingfeather, because, with the magazine that we put out, it's primarily probably an adult audience that's reading this and seeing this. But I do think this show has that. And if you have kids or grandkids, certainly sit them down and watch it. But for you to have this obviously opportunity, also just tell people season 3 is out, and this is I use this very this word very appropriately here. It's a worthy show. It's a worthy experience to sit down with your families.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's a very family-orientated show in a fantasy situation. But I love the mix of those two things, you know, the fantasy and the sort of the way families deal with each other. Mm-hmm. And I love that. I think it's a terrific mix.
It certainly doesn't pull punches in that sense, too. I mean, it hits some dark elements. Yeah. There is life, there is death, there's faith, there's all of it covered in the show.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
All right, well, Kevin, we appreciate it, again, that you join us today. We're huge fans, and we are
my pleasure.
I'm so thrilled that season 3 is out and that season 4 is coming. I get to go tell my kids that. I'll break that news to them because I know this means a lot to them. You know, they come home with the books. They talk about these characters a lot. So to see and to see how much the animation style has progressed over the last few years, and clearly the budget's there. It's remarkable.
It is. It's wonderful, and I'm so looking forward to the next few seasons as well, because I think they want to go forward with this.
Let's do it. All right, Kevin, thank you so much for joining us today.
You're welcome.